Deep in the heart of Antarctica, the ice is bleeding.
For over a century, it was a geological crime scene with no explanation. First thought to be algae, hidden beneath the glacier lies a liquid time capsule, a hypersaline lake sealed off from the world for 2 million years.
In total darkness, without oxygen or light, life didn't just survive here, it evolved its own way to breathe. If life can thrive in this frozen pressure cooker, it might be the blueprint for finding life across the skies. Let's dive deep into the mystery.
The McMurdo dry valleys in Antarctica form one of the harshest deserts on Earth. Temperatures regularly plunge well below zero, and the vast, cracked terrain stretches for miles without a single visible sign of life. But at the edge of the Taylor Glacier, a vivid crimson liquid violently bleeds straight out of the pristine white ice. This site was first mapped in 1911 during the Terra Nova expedition, led by Australian geologist Thomas Griffith Taylor. Confronted with red water pouring from the glacier, Taylor's team proposed the most logical explanation at the time, a dense bloom of red algae. That theory masked a massive thermodynamic contradiction. Water flowing through the core of a sub-zero glacier should instantly freeze solid, making any aquatic biological bloom physically improbable. Blood falls stood as a unique physical anomaly, resisting a complete scientific explanation for over a century. The liquid tearing through the ice is actually a hypersaline brine, a heavily concentrated saltwater solution that measures nearly 3 times saltier than the ocean. In 2023, high-resolution microscopy revealed exactly what makes it red. The water is packed with amorphous iron nanospheres, tiny, non-crystalline particles rich in iron, calcium, and sodium that float perfectly suspended in the dark brine. Because they lack a rigid crystal structure, these spheres react instantly. The second the brine seeps out of the glacier and hits the oxygen-rich atmosphere, the iron particles rust on contact, staining the water crimson. Following that liquid back to its source requires diving deeply under the surface. 400 meters beneath the glacier sits a hidden subglacial lake, sealed away in complete darkness for almost 2 million years. Trapped inside this oxygen-free void are at least 17 different types of highly specialized microbes. Without sunlight for photosynthesis, these organisms rely entirely on chemosynthesis. They strip sulfates from the water to metabolize iron straight out of the bedrock, essentially eating the geology around them to survive. A fully functional ecosystem surviving millions of years in total isolation proves that life can sustain itself purely on planetary chemistry. It offers a direct model for how Earth's own life forms endured ancient planet-wide ice ages. Looking at this massive expanse of the Taylor Glacier, you can see the scale of the challenge. This environment creates a difficult logistical reality: how that brine physically travels miles to the surface without freezing. Ice-penetrating radar from 2026 revealed a 4.8-kilometer-long network of pathways winding through the solid bedrock beneath the ice. It navigates this frozen maze due to latent heat. As the extremely salty brine finally begins to freeze, the chemical transition releases tiny amounts of heat. That self-generated heat radiates outward, warming the surrounding ice just enough to keep the internal pipes open, even when the surrounding temperature sits at a bitter -17 degrees Celsius. Movement drives the final push. When millions of tons of heavy glacial ice physically sags or shifts, it acts like a giant piston. That immense downward pressure squeezes the subglacial reservoir beneath it. Blood Falls operates as a highly pressurized, self-heating geological engine, forcing liquid brine violently outward through microscopic fractures until it bursts into the open air. The Taylor Glacier is now the central Earth analog for the field of astrobiology. The cold, salty, and iron-heavy chemistry of the Taylor Glacier accurately mimics the conditions we expect to find trapped within the Martian subsurface. It also maps directly onto the mechanics of Jupiter's moon Europa, where pressurized liquid oceans are trapped under miles of rigid ice. The same sub-ice dynamics apply to Saturn's moon Enceladus, where deep water vents push fluids upward through a frozen crust. Because 17 distinct microbe species can actively thrive in a dark, frozen, high-pressure environment here on Earth, The biological argument for life existing in these alien oceans becomes mathematically and physically plausible. If these microbes can thrive in the dark, frozen pressure cooker of the Taylor Glacier, they demonstrate the specific strategies that could allow life to persist in the farthest reaches of our solar system.